So, good afternoon, everybody, and you're very welcome today to this employer-led webinar session, the first of 4 employer webinars in semester 1. My name is Elaine Sutherland. I'm an employer engagement consultant in careers, employability and skills, and I'm going to be your host for this webinar this afternoon. The webinar topic is, as you know, anyone can conquer the corporate world. I'm delighted to be joined by 4 panellists from leading organisations in Northern Ireland who are all recruiting a broad range of students from different disciplines, and they're going to offer you valuable insights around themselves as leaders, their organisations, its recruitment plans and the skills they're looking for. So, huge welcome to Stephanie Gowdy from PwC, Carla McGlynn from Citi, Karen Butler from Deloitte and Jordan Hendricks from First Derivatives. So thank you for giving up your time this afternoon. Before I hand over to our employers to speak, I'm going to highlight 4 objectives that you might want to think about as our panellists speak and as we move into the Q&A session. So first of all, what you might want to think about you could get out of this session is to better understand some of the wide range of opportunities available to graduates from a wide range of disciplines, to better understanding of the skills and behaviours that our employers are looking for in graduates and future leaders and why, and also have some time to consider your own skills and how you can now start to tangibly develop them. And we would also advise you to take a little bit of time after this session to plan your next steps, even in a small way, but some things that you can start to do now as a student to develop your skills and think more about your future career. So I've asked each of our 4 panellists to talk for 7 or 8 minutes each around their organisation and their recruitment plans, a little bit about themselves as well as a leader within that organisation, and as I said, some of the skills that they're looking for moving forward for grads. What I'd ask you to do is, as they talk, we're going to move into a Q&A session after we've heard from our 4 speakers. So do write down a few points and a few questions that you might have. You can then post those questions through on the chat function, and that is private. So feel free to start asking questions from here from our first speaker, and then we'll move into that interactive Q&A session towards the end. So first up is Stephanie Gowdy, who's a senior manager with PwC Operate. And Steph, I know now, as I said, you're going to spend 7 or 8 minutes running through a short presentation about yourself and about PwC. And we'll just ask everyone else then, including myself, we'll turn off our mics and our videos. So over to you, Steph, and thanks.
Thank you, Claudine. And hopefully it's not a 7 or 8 minute presentation. Hopefully I'll be able to chat to you all through it. So as Claudine said, my name is Stephanie Gowdy. I am a senior manager within PwC. For anybody who isn't familiar with PwC, we were previously called PricewaterhouseCoopers, but that is a bit of a mouthful. So we changed our brand to become a condensed version, PwC. We are based currently just beside the Waterfront Hall, and we actually are in the midst of building a new office right in the city centre. We are a professional services firm. We are a global brand, and our role is to provide a number of businesses and clients professional advice. So we don't sell a product, we essentially sell our people's areas of expertise, and I say that can be anything from acquisition, mergers, it could be audit advice, tax advice, and we also provide a lot of technology advice to our clients. We've about 2,200 staff based in Belfast, so we have seen substantial growth over the last couple of years. Just to give you a bit of info about me, so this is what my career has looked like. I first came in contact with PwC when I was at uni. I studied business studies at University of Ulster. And I had the opportunity to take 11 months out, and I worked within the PwC Human Resources team. When I graduated, I then went back to PwC and continued doing a similar job, and began to work within our student recruitment team. I had the opportunity whilst I was there to start doing some additional qualifications. So for anybody studying business, it's as broad as anything. And I suppose with the experience that I had during placement and when I joined the firm, I was able to get a bit more insight into the type of work that I wanted to do. And I actually went back to uni on a part-time basis, funded by the firm, and went to Queen's to study a master's in personnel management, which granted me access to a professional institute, the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. Undertaking that qualification plus having a couple of years experience meant that I could move into a different role, and I took on a national role looking after any student within PwC who was studying towards a professional qualification. I really enjoyed that role because it got me out of Belfast. I was able to do a bit of travel. I spent maybe 3-4 days a week in London and traveling around some of our other regional offices. And doing that role, I was also promoted to manager. I then applied for an internal role just through some restructuring, and I became the student recruitment manager. And shortly after getting that role, I decided to go off on maternity leave. And there's a little picture of my 2 boys. So I've had 2 years out of my 13 years at PwC with my little boys, Seth and Toby, who are 6 and 7. Returning from maternity leave after my 2nd year out, I then was promoted to head of student recruitment for PwC in Northern Ireland. But with that, gave me a role within the national leadership team. So there was 5 senior managers responsible for driving student recruitment priorities across the UK. And again, that was a really good opportunity for me to look beyond Belfast and understand what was happening across lots of different regions. And then in November, I was getting itchy feet. I knew my job inside out, and I actually was approached by our Operate business within PwC to go across and lead on staff engagement. And in January, I moved across to this Operate business that you might have heard about in certainly some of our external social media. It's a big part of our business that does anything from fin crime, anti-money laundering, right through to business operations and customer management, amongst many things. My job currently is to look at how we create high-performing individuals. So what opportunity do we give our staff to grow and develop, and give them opportunities and ensure that their everyday interactions keep them engaged. When I came across in January, I thought that would be not an easy role, but I certainly knew the direction of travel and the things that we needed to work on. And then we went into lockdown and we all worked from home. We were all working virtually, and a big part of my role became focused on how do we make sure our staff remain connected, how do they remain focused and work towards what our clients need, but also being really mindful of our well-being. And that's a big part of my role at the minute, is looking at what will the next 6 months, according to Boris, and beyond look like for both our people and our clients, and ensure that we have an engaged workforce. So look, that's a very brief snippet of me and what I've been doing. From a recruitment perspective, what I love about PwC is it doesn't matter what degree you've studied. We are very much a skills business, and we absolutely need those skills to drive a lot of our business. So if you do have a look on our website, you'll see that yes, a degree may be a requirement for the majority of our roles, but that is only one little tick box in the types of people that we want to recruit. So we really need individuals who have skills, which you all will have, and can develop over your next couple of years at university. Another big part of PwC is trying to give you insight to what your career could look like as early on as possible. So we work with students from year 10 onwards. So we want to help you decide what GCSEs you might want to select relating to your career, what A levels might be beneficial. And ultimately then, as soon as you start university, that we can start giving you some work experience so you can start developing and building on those skills, and ultimately secure a graduate role at the end of that. So you'll see from the slide that's on the screen, I appreciate it's a little bit wordy, so I'll give you a very brief overview. But really from first year, you can engage in our Talent Academy, which is a 2-day event. We've got internships that run from 1 to 8 weeks. We have Women in Business or Women in Tech events that drive some of our tech roles whenever you graduate. And then we have the longer placements that I certainly took part in, which is 11 months. And all of those roles can lead to a graduate job. So off the back of going to Talent Academy or an internship in first year, you could be sitting with your graduate role and not have to worry about that whenever you come out the end of a 3 or 4 year degree. So it's really, really important that you do lift your head from your academic study and you do have a little think about what you want to do and where you want to go, and be really open-minded about that. We have people sitting in our financial crime team with an English literature degree, and they are key individuals because the analytical skills that they bring is really, really important to the data and the reports that they're constantly reading. We have geography, maths. We have such an array of individuals coming through our business. For a while, law graduates were extremely attractive to some of the work and the clients that we were working with. So it's really important that you actually delve into the type of work an employer gets involved in, and then see how your skill sets and interests can lend itself to those roles. So on that then, what are all these skills that I'm talking about? So as I say, the biggest part of this is looking at who you are and being able to lead yourself and others. We want to create an environment that when you join us as a work experience student or as a graduate, that you bring yourself to work and that you are empowered to do that work. So we really do look for whole leadership. So can you lead yourself? Can you lead others? So when we talk about that, you don't need to have gone out and led a massive project or undertaken a huge assignment. It's simple things like what's your role within a sports team? What's your role being within university projects? Have you been part of a student union? All of those are really good examples where you have led yourself and or others. Business acumen is another skill that we look for, which is all around your analytical thinking. And all of you will have been privy to this as you start to work through your assignments and you start to work through projects. So really, again, think about the types of stuff that you've already been involved in that demonstrates that you can methodically work through something. Technical and digital is becoming a big skill, and for a lot of you this probably rolls off the tongue, but we are very much now a tech-enabled business, if not now more than ever, as we've all transitioned to a fully working from home workforce where technology has enabled us to continue to remain productive. So it's how you engage productively in the digital world, and PwC put a huge investment into upskilling our staff and reskilling our staff in this digital world. Global and being inclusive is another big skill that we look for, and this is very much around your networks, working with different individuals, either culturally but also different personality traits. We all know we've been working in teams where there's always been an individual that has potentially been very different and worked very differently from how you might have worked, and it's being understanding of how those personalities and those different traits can work together to result in a positive output. And then the final skill is relationships. So how do you communicate? How do you interact with others? And we all have experience of that. So when you look at these skills, because they're in business terminology, don't be put off by them. The biggest takeaway that I just want to give you all today is be open-minded to what opportunities exist, and you're going to hear loads in the next few presentations. Northern Ireland is booming and there's so much opportunity for all of you. But secondly, think about all the skills that you have already and make sure you're translating that into what employers are looking for. So listen, thank you very much for listening, and I'm going to hand over to the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Steph. And guys, hold your thoughts there. I know that you will probably have lots of questions and lots to discuss there. And I think the idea of being open-minded to opportunities is a really useful and positive way to end. So thanks, Steph. Our next presentation is Carla McGlynn, who's the Technology Director from City. So over to you, Carla.
Thanks, Claudine, and thanks to everybody for dialing in today. So as Claudine says, my name's Carla McGlynn and I'm a director within technology within City Belfast. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about my background, and then I'll tell you a little bit about City and what we're looking for and have to offer for graduates. So I started off, I was born in County Monaghan and I went to school down in the Republic of Ireland. And when I did my Leaving Certs, I decided that I really wanted to do a degree in science. and I was really interested in a biological sciences degree that was available in Coleraine. So I took a hop over the border and did my degree in biological sciences, specialising in biotechnology in Coleraine. And when I come out of university at that time, having done a year in Ohio in America as part of my placement, and that year was focused very much on business and skills that I hadn't studied in my degree. And when I come out, and there was no real jobs within biotechnology at that time, and then I got a taste for business and accounting and IT. Someone had suggested to me, would you ever think about doing a conversion course in IT, which I hadn't thought about until that point. So I graduated in the June, like most of you folks will as well, and started a master's in computers and information systems in Jordanstown the following November. And within about 4 weeks, I was at a career fair, and a number of companies were there, and Liberty IT was the first stand that I came to, and I started talking to someone who I had a really good chat with, and I decided I'm going to apply. At that stage, I was applying for a software developer job. I hadn't even written a line of code, but there was something that really intrigued me about the company, and I thought I'll give it a shot. So I applied, and I found out in the December that I'd been accepted into Liberty IT, pending that I complete my master's the following August. So I started my career there as a software developer, and I did that in Java for about 3 years. And throughout that time, and this is one of the things I really love about technology, and I'll talk a little bit about this with City as well. But throughout that time, I realized there's so many other careers within technology, which for me at the time, I thought, I'm going to be doing development or coding for the rest of my life. What I was really attracted to within that role was the fact that I got to experience being a business analyst, being a PM. So I took the opportunity then after 3 years to go into a business analyst role. And I worked in Liberty for about 8 years, predominantly for the rest of that time as a business analyst. And then 12 years ago, this year, I moved to City. And I'll tell you a little bit about City and my career journey. So City, based in Belfast, we have 4 buildings. The most prominent one you may have seen down in the Titanic Quarter. And it's a global financial services company. But what's really unique about City is that we have 4 buildings, nearly 3,000 staff, and we have 21 functions. So I'm a director within technology, but we have functions in human resources, in legal, in compliance, in operations, any number of functions that make up the company that we have. Why that has been so attractive to me and why I stayed was because during the 12 years that I've been there, I moved from a business analyst into a project management role. I moved from project management into a technical lead role. I then tried out different opportunities. So I've never had to leave City to try and experiment and progress my career. So I started off as an AVP in City, and 12 years later, I'm a director within technology. I'm also responsible for a site of over 250 people within technology. And for me, that has been the attraction. The fact that I could try out different job roles, that I could move within the company, and I could find out what the skills were that I had and what I enjoyed and make the best use of those. So what else can I tell you about City? I guess one of the key things, we have numerous amounts of networks that we're involved in, and most of you may know that tomorrow marks Global Diversity Awareness Month, and it's something we're really proud of at City. With nearly 3,000 people, we have so many different multicultural networks. I'm particularly focused on attracting more females into technology. So as you can see on the slide there, we run a number of programs outside of the Grad Academy that are specifically focused on encouraging more females into technology. So I'll touch on the first one, CitySpire. So it's a program I launched about 5 years ago now, and it's specifically for first-year females within any STEM related degree. It's a mentoring program, and if you're a first year and you apply to the program, where applications are now open and we can share details after that, you will be aligned for 6 months to a female mentor within City. So someone like me, and we've got 30 mentors that you could be aligned with any one of them. You can spend time, asking them questions about what their career journey was like, what's it like to work in City, what's it like to work within technology within any company, because we've all got reams of experience. And we invite you into 3 tailored workshops. One is about making the first impression or impact, influence, and personal brand, because that's something we really do look for in a graduate. As Stephanie says, you will have an abundance of skills. You all come from different backgrounds. So it's how are you going to stand out from the crowd when you come into any of the opportunities you have within the companies in Northern Ireland. We have a workshop on presenting with confidence and another one on taking the lead on a project. So look out for information on that on the web, and we can share anything that you need to know about after this event as well. Another one that's coming up on the 5th of November is an event called Tea with Technology. And it's an afternoon where we invite you in to hear from females across the organisation who've had different roles, different backgrounds, technology and otherwise, and they tell you about all their different career paths. So whether it's from music to coding or other, you find out, all the different success stories, the challenges people have, the advice that they can give you as you progress your career journey. So another one that's open to all of you folks on the call. So look out for information on that. So what makes a good graduate or placement? So our Graduate Academy applications are now open, and I know our recruiter can share details with you afterwards. They're open until November. So what I would say is, just very much echoing what Stephanie had said, you are going to have so many opportunities. We look out when we're doing interviews and group assessments to check for a couple of things. One, we're assuming if you get to this stage, you've got the skills, but we want to see who's interested. So who's done their homework on City and can tell us something about the company, because it really is about showing you've got a passion for the industry, that you've done your homework on the company, and that you're proactive to go and check that you come to events like this and you pick up tips from all the wonderful panelists, and that you can share them to say that you've been interested. And as well as that, when you think about group exercises and things we do, we look for collaboration and how you work as a partner. City is really strong on the leadership standards that it holds, and we've got 6 key leadership standards, and one of those is working as a partner. So yes, you can work as an individual, and we like to see you progress your career forward, but how do you work with others? How do you bring others along? And like me, as you progress your career journey, it becomes less about you and more about the staff that you bring along with you on that journey. So that's some of the key things that we look out for. As I mentioned, the graduate programme is now open. Applications are opened until the 15th of November, and that's across operations and technology. We have numerous events that are coming up, not just City's Bar and Technology, that you can look out for on LinkedIn. Our recruiter, Jared Carney, will be sharing lots of information on that, and we're more than happy to put you in touch with people in the company, other than me as well, that can give you some advice and tips on what to look out for, no matter what company you're applying for. So thank you for taking the time. I'm looking forward to some questions, and Claudine, I'll pass back to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Carla. And we're going to move on now to our third speaker, and that's Karen Butler from Deloitte. So Carla, if you want to turn your video off, and Karen, if you want to turn yours on, and I'll just move on the next slide, and it's over to you.
So hi everyone, thank you very much for joining today's webinar, and I hope you're getting a lot of information out of it about the opportunities that are available right across Belfast. So as the slide says, I am a director within our consulting business, and I'm also head of talent for Deloitte Belfast. So I really have dual roles within the firm. I guess my day-to-day activities are a consultant working mainly within technology, specifically within enterprise applications. So you may have heard of SAP or Oracle or applications like that, and that's where I specialize. But I also support our recruitment, our early careers team, and our learning and development team as head of talent for Belfast, with a particular interest in our graduate recruitment and our school leaver recruitment programs. So to give you a little bit of background on me and how I got to be in a position with Deloitte. So I started off, I guess, when I was doing A levels, not really sure what I wanted to do. Didn't know which what path I wanted to go down, and my interest really lay in history and politics. So when it came to deciding what degree course to follow, I went for a history and politics degree at Queen's, and really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the 3 years I had at Queen's, but probably when I got to the end of those 3 years, still wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and then decided to do a conversion course in management information at Queen's, and that really got me into technology from the very onset. So following that, I had some jobs with a local chemist chain where I worked in their technology team and was responsible for point of sale systems. I then took a job with an American technology company, and that really was my first experience with enterprise applications and specifically finance applications. And I spent a couple of years there, and then the opportunity came to apply for a position with Deloitte, and that was almost 20 years ago when I first joined Deloitte as part of their technology team. So I've had a couple of stints with Deloitte. So I stayed initially with them for 8 years and worked as a business analyst, as a project manager. I joined as a consultant, so we have a number of different grades. When you join as a graduate, you join in an analyst position and then progress through consultant, senior consultant, manager, senior manager, director. So I stayed initially from consultant up to manager. And then I left to take a position in industry with a local manufacturing company where I was their IT program manager. And there I was responsible for the implementation of a number of applications across their manufacturing plants in the UK and Ireland. I was with that company for 6 years, and then the opportunity came back up to go back to Deloitte. So Deloitte wanted to grow out what we refer to as a nearshore team. And really that was a team of technical people, a team of business analysts, project managers who would be working in Belfast, supporting our projects across the UK and Europe. But in the main, we would be based out of the Belfast office. And it was to grow that team specifically around SAP and Oracle. So I took the opportunity to rejoin at that stage, and that was just over 6 years ago. And we have gone through pretty significant growth over those 6 years. So when I joined, we had about just over 100 people sitting in consulting in Belfast. We are now sitting with a headcount of over 1,000 people. We currently have 3 offices across Belfast. And we are in the process of building a new office in Bedford Street, just opposite the Ulster Hall. So basically, we were able to grow out that Belfast practice. The team that I work in specifically has grown from 1, me being the first joiner into that team, to over 60 people now, and we are continuing to expand. When I returned to Deloitte for the second time, I had the opportunity then to also take on the head of talent role, and that was something that was really I was really keen to get involved in, and wanted to grow out the opportunities that were available to people in Northern Ireland, and to be able to work in companies such as Deloitte and the companies you're hearing about today. We implemented a couple of different recruitment campaigns. So one was aimed at our school leavers, so A levels, and another one was aimed at our graduates, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. And we are continuing to grow and build on those campaigns. So if I move on to the types of opportunities that we have available. So very similar to PwC, to City, in the fact that our people are the most important. So it's our people that we sell around to our business, and they're there to offer advice to clients across a number of different areas, and I've just listed some of them here. I sit within technology, but we also obviously have a strong accounting business. We have a tax practice. We have a legal and real estate business. We have employees who deal in cybersecurity. So there are a wealth of opportunities when you come into Deloitte, and you may come in as a graduate and not sure what area you want to specialize in. And one of the good things about Deloitte is that you're able to move between the different areas. So you could start out in technology, but move into a human capital business if that's where you wanted to develop your skills. So in terms of the opportunities we have at graduate level, so we have a number of summer vacation and industrial placement, and those are live at the minute across our audit, tax and risk advisory cyber business. Our consulting business will be going live very soon, and you'll be able to apply to those. And then we have our graduate program. So as I mentioned, we have two arms to our graduate recruitment. So one is traditional recruitment, which graduates would be taken on in September, and they go through a 2-year training program where they get both professional qualifications and experience with working on clients. And then we also have an academy program. And basically our academy program was really brought about to support our growth initiative in Belfast. Excuse me. So we had a number of different areas that we needed to develop skills in, and we needed to develop skills in very quickly. And those skills wouldn't have been in the marketplace initially in Belfast. So we worked in conjunction with local college and local government departments and designed academies where we could upskill graduates very quickly in specific skills areas. And I've listed some of the academy programs that we have run in the past down the side, and they're ever evolving and ever changing. The reason why we did this as well is it gives us the flexibility to run these at any time of the year. So they're not always a September intake. We basically can stand up an academy at any time of the year and bring graduates in whenever the business requires them. In terms of the degrees that we were looking for, both from an academy point of view and our traditional graduate entry, again, we don't really mind what the degree is. We know that you'll have got your academic skills. It doesn't matter if you are a technology graduate or an accounting graduate or a history graduate, same as myself. We take in any degree, either a 2-2 for our academy program or 2-1 for our normal graduate entry, and we will provide the specific training that is required in order to go into the area of the business that you want to go into. And that means that we can be quite flexible in our application process and open that up to as many people as we want to. So, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're an accounting graduate or a history graduate and you're thinking maybe Deloitte wouldn't have a career that would suit me, that's not the case at all. Our positions are open to any discipline, and we provide that training to give you the skills needed in order to establish yourself with clients. And I suppose finally, I wanted to highlight what we look for. So as some of our previous presenters had said, we will obviously have a number of graduates who will apply for roles within the organization. There'll be a criteria that you have to meet in terms of the classification of your degree, but we want we are looking for specific skills in order to differentiate you and to make sure that you stand out. And I've highlighted some of the skills here, and we view these as what are the skills needed in the future. So a lot of these activities you will do throughout your coursework and your project work at university, but also a lot of things that you do in your personal life. If you're members of a sports club, if you volunteer, a lot of activities and skills that you develop outside of university can be really applicable to a career at Deloitte as well. And through our interview process and our assessment process, it's these type of skills that we are really looking for. And those are the types of things that we hone in. And we know you've got the degree, we know you've got the requirement to come in, but it's these types of skills that are really needed whenever you are working with a client and whenever you're providing advice to that client, and really getting to the bottom of what problems the clients have and how we are able to help them as a firm and to solve their problems and give them the answers they need to. So that really wraps it up for me. As I said, our positions around industrial placement, summer vacation, and grad positions are opening, and there'll be more opening soon. So thank you, and I'll hand back to Claudine.
Lovely, thanks, Karen. And we can talk about some of the mechanisms towards the end that students can avail of to ensure that you're aware of these opportunities as and when they come up. So don't worry if you're not remembering all that detail just now. It's the headline information that is really, really important. So thank you very much, Karen. And we'll move on to our final, last but not least, panelist, and that's Jordan Hendricks from First Derivatives. So hello.
Oh, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. I guess my kind of talk will be maybe a little bit different. Obviously, you've heard a lot of really great opportunities, but I wanted to focus a little bit more on the resilience and kind of what you can do in terms of preparing for going into interviews and going into different jobs and things like that. So I guess to kick off, I'll tell you a little bit more about First Derivatives and kind of what we do at the moment. I know when you hear First Derivatives, I think most people automatically assume finance, which is a large part of what we do. But I guess to give you some context to all sides of our business. So I guess first and foremost, we are primarily a capital markets consultancy. So we bring a lot of people into the business from a variety of backgrounds. They would go through a 2-year training program, and then you would work with our clients, typically wherever they are. So essentially what happens on our graduate program, it's called the options program. There's 4 different streams you can be on. So that's financial engineering, trading technology, software engineering, and data science. So on the financial engineering and trading technology stream, you're very much focused on the finance world. So if that's something that interests you, if you're studying economics or a business degree, or really any degree, but you're willing to learn about that area, our training program is really extensive. So we'll take a lot of different backgrounds for those kinds of roles. And then on the other side is data science and software engineering. So on that side, we'd look a lot more on the technical background. So mostly like computer science, physics, different kinds of degrees where you're using a bit of coding and languages and stuff like that. So that's kind of the overall split of most of our graduate programs. So we have a lot of degrees or a lot of programs that would accept from any background. So as long as you're willing to learn and upskill, that's kind of the key things that we look for in our graduate program. But just to give you a little bit more background about myself, even, I suppose, if you can tell from my accent, I'm from the States originally, and I did my undergraduate in the States, worked there for a while, actually in really random jobs, really, trying to figure out what I wanted to do after I graduated with a degree in business management. I ended up doing marketing for a zoo, actually, where I'm from. And following that, I knew I didn't want to do that longer term. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I did my MBA at Queen's. And then that's kind of where I came into First Derivatives. So all of my degrees were very much business focused. I never in a million years thought that I would work for a financial technology company in any capacity, even in the one I'm currently in. I didn't think that was for me. But I was really wrong in that regard, and I'm glad that I took the chance. So I guess my kind of key bit of advice, and you kind of see it through the themes of what I talk about today, is just focusing on taking the chance, being real open to new ideas, trying new things, and you never know where that might take you. But I guess when I first found First Derivatives, I actually applied for the Futures program. So Futures is focused on, is open to any degree background of any kind, as long as you're willing to learn and upskill and try new things in the consultancy field, primarily still within finance for that one, but also on the tech side, so a bit of fintech, open to any background, but it was based here in Northern Ireland, so either in our Newry office primarily. Sometimes positions come up in Dublin or Belfast, but the focus is on the island of Ireland, versus the rest of our options graduate programs. They're all based on travel roles. So You'd come in, you do your initial training. At the moment, everything is going virtual, and then following that, you'd go work wherever our clients are. So very early on in your career, you get the opportunity to go work with clients, maybe in New York or London, or we've had people in Australia, Munich, Barcelona, pretty much anywhere in the world where we have clients. You have the opportunity to go. So that's kind of the key selling point of our graduate program, and what a lot of people are excited by. So on top of the travel aspect, or I suppose included in it really, our graduate program would sort all of that for you. So you are expected to learn a lot. You are taking on a lot, and you're learning a lot of new skills early on, but you are then afforded the opportunity to go places, and we'll sort all of your travel, accommodation, expenses, everything is covered by First Derivative. So it's a really good way if you really want to travel, maybe you're not sure what you want to do yet with your career. It's a really good way to kind of combine both of those things. Obviously, at the moment, COVID dependent is making things a little bit more challenging, just in terms of making sure everybody's able to do things safely and accurately and efficiently, and all those kinds of things. But we're overcoming that at the moment with a lot of virtual training and inductions, and from there, kind of traveling on and figuring out safe places to travel and all of that stuff as well. But I guess just to touch on some of the images I've got here. I've got a couple of travel images. I think you can see the cityscape down at the bottom there, and then also one of our other. She originally was on the Explorers program, but is now a technical consultant. She comes from a marketing degree in the top left corner. She was traveling in South America as well when she was stationed in Mexico City. So there's definitely lots of opportunity on that side. That middle photo there is actually our September intake. So most things have been done online, but we were able to get in socially distanced not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, with our recent intake. So there's a lot of different stuff going on, and a lot of different social aspect as well. So I really just wanted to touch on kind of what you guys can be doing to use the lockdown and working from home and studying from home, and prepare for going into your applying for jobs. So I think the number one thing you can do at this time is optimize your CV. So I know that comes probably relatively like an obvious thing to say, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement and personalizing each CV for each job you apply for, which can sound like a lot of work. I think a lot of people maybe have one CV and apply to every role with it. But really, if you really want to focus and stand out from the crowd, I'd really focus on optimizing your CV for the job that you're applying for, and making sure those keywords and phrases and skills that the job spec describes are covered in your CV. And make sure you're doing your research on the company, but also what you're looking for and what you want to do. So if you know what you want to do, that's great. It's a good time to gain knowledge on the industry, follow some industry magazines, look on LinkedIn and find different areas and hashtags you can follow, all those kinds of things. That kind of genuine knowledge comes across really well in an interview when you can actually talk about the industry that you're getting into. But even if you're not sure what you want to do, that's totally fine. I still don't know what I want to do longer term with my life, but you never know what opportunities can come up for you. But I think now is a good time to reflect on what you've enjoyed about your degree so far, what you've maybe not enjoyed so much, what kind of jobs take those skill sets, and kind of add to what you might want to do in the future. So I think now is a really good time to use being from home, use the extra time you have at home to really critically think about your own skills and what you want to do. Also, I think LinkedIn, I'm sure most recruiters will agree with me, LinkedIn is huge. It's basically a virtual CV for people to, not only for you to apply to, but for people to find you as well. So making sure all your key skills are noted there, all the keywords of the job functions you want to do, what you might be looking for, make sure all of that is really clear in your LinkedIn. You can also use LinkedIn to find jobs. There's job alerts you can follow. You can get insight on salaries and all kinds of things, and keep up to date with industry trends. So I would highly recommend getting active on LinkedIn. I think I saw a stat at one point that 70% of recruiters look at a candidate's LinkedIn in the hiring process to see how you're presenting yourself, your personal brand, what you might actually be interested in, and showing that you're actually interested in the industry that we're in, those kinds of things. So I'd highly recommend really optimizing that as well. Also taking some time to build your personal brand, which feeds a bit into LinkedIn, but how you want to portray yourself. If you want that to be focused on the consulting side, you should really express on your people skills and working in teams, things like that. If you want to be focused on your technical skills more, make sure that comes across in your CV and how you present yourself as well. So I think those kind of go hand in hand, all of those things really, but making sure you're clear and consistent in how you portray yourself the professional world. I also think doing some networking, whether that's through LinkedIn or if that's through, there's meetup.com, there's lots of different websites where you can meet people that are either job hunting or in a particular industry you might be interested in, and get to know them. I know lots of people also are open to LinkedIn messages. Don't feel, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is that people don't reply or aren't up for having a conversation. So I think take the leap, reach out to people, and do some networking. Find somebody who is maybe 2 years into the job that you might want, and that can tell you about their experience, what they wish they knew earlier, and what insight they might be able to give you. So I think that could be really useful in preparing for the working world, especially in the COVID world. And I also think upskilling is really important, especially now. I think what employers might be looking for is how you used lockdown, how you use that to your advantage, and demonstrating that. So there's lots of free classes and courses and things on like LinkedIn Learning and Udemy and Coursera, that can really demonstrate that you're keen to upskill and do different things as well. So I'd highly recommend doing those things. Oh, Claudine, I see you there.
Yeah, just if that's okay, so we've some time for the Q&A.
Yeah, those are my last ones here anyway. So just wrapping up here on my personal tips. So don't be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone and try different areas. Like I said, I came from a management background and I came into first derivatives into a fintech company, but it's definitely been the best decision I ever made. And I moved across the world, different countries, so highly recommend. Never stop learning. Try to keep upskilling whatever job you go into. If you can find a coach or a mentor to help guide you along your way in your career search and just as you grow, that could be really helpful. And as much as you can, try to make the journey fun, do what you enjoy, and try to find what works best for you. But, yep, that's pretty much me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jordan. And that's a lovely way to end, actually. It's, having an open mind and have fun. Thanks to Steph, Carla, Karen, and Jordan for those overviews. Yes, and if you'll want to turn your cameras on now. Certainly what struck me when the four of you were speaking was the similarity of some of the key messages that were coming across, despite the fact that you come from different backgrounds, do different roles, and obviously work in different organisations. And that was very much around, the importance of transferable skills, the importance of having an open mind and availing of opportunities and grasping them as they come along. So that's some really, really good, solid advice. Also interesting, I'm sure, for our student audience was around the fact that, Carly, you started off with a biological science degree and Karen with a history and politics degree. So it's important now, I guess, for our audience to start to really think in a broad way that your path doesn't necessarily be linear. And again, when you open up those opportunities, it helps for that. So thank you all very much. I'm going to move into the Q&A session now. There's some questions coming through. It might be that only one person needs to answer one, or we can have more. We can decide that as we go along. The first question is, are your graduate opportunities open only to current recent grads? And if not, how long out of education can they be? So I don't know if someone wants to pick that up. So basically your grad roles, do they need to be out of education for a certain length of time while they can still apply?
So I'm gonna pick that up on our academy program. Definitely, we get a broad range of graduates coming through from that, from recent graduates just out of university to people who have gone through a full career and maybe want to retrain in something else. So there's no age specification in terms of our graduate positions. As long as you have the requirements, then you can apply.
Okay, is that standard response then? Yeah. Okay, cool. When applying for grad schemes, can you apply for more than one area, or do you need to apply for a particular area initially? Is the next question from Eva.
Certainly for PwC, you can only apply for one role at a time. But that's not to say if you change your mind mid-process, or we think that there are other opportunities that you might be better suited to, we can certainly transfer applications across.
Great, thanks. And you're nodding your head, sir, so I presume that's quite standard. The next question is, there's a way to get email updates when academies open up and when undergraduate roles open up. So yes, just to remind then our audience that we do work very, very closely with our employer partners and the recruiters in those teams. So keep checking on the My Future portal. I'm sure you're all registered there because all these opportunities will be up there. They'll also be on the organisation's website, and we'll also do quite a bit of work across social media and in your careers consultants newsletters that come out every month. So that key information will be fed to you as and when these information's opened. And I know that organisations as well, you have some of your own recruitment sessions and open days, and Queen's will feed that information through to you as well. I also, another question here saying, yeah, when do applications open up? So yeah, we'll post that through as we said, and we'll be in good constant touch with you as we move along. I just had more of a general question then, or comment for the four of you, and that's it was interesting when we were talking about skills there, that there was a real commonality around some of the skills that you're looking for in your teams and in your graduates moving forward. So can I ask each of you, if you were sitting in this position now, so going to apply for organisations or about to graduate, is there one kind of key piece of advice you would give to your younger self as you look back that perhaps they could take away? Karen, if it's okay to start with you.
Yeah, I think it's just making sure that when you go in for an interview or discussion with an employer, be able to differentiate yourself, because there's a lot of people who apply for jobs, and it's being able to stand out from the crowd, and whether that's bringing in your studies or bringing in your activities that you do in your personal life, but have something that you can differentiate yourself with.
Thanks. Steph?
Yeah, PwC have a booklet that you can get on the website. It's called the Employability Booklet, and it doesn't matter what organisation you're going for an interview for or an assessment for. It's a really good guide to help you get all of your skills on a page. So it basically highlights some of the skills that all of us employers have referenced, and then it has some little questions underneath to prompt you to think about types of examples. And back to the point that's already being flagged, to try and differentiate yourself, it's really easy to think of the first example that comes to mind. So I know as an interview, I've heard multiple times about challenges people have had with university projects, etc. But on their application form, they're head of the rugby team, they work in Super Value, and they babysit at the weekends. So having a document like that really helps you tease out the type of skills and experience that you have, and it's a really good and useful resource to try and get it all on a page that will help you then carve out how you go into an interview or an assessment with employers. So I wish I had a prep document like that, that helped me really gather all my thoughts and examples together before I went into a recruitment process.
Thank you. And we can get that document off your website, and we can send it out in an email after this event. Carla?
Yeah, for me, I think about this a lot, and it kind of links into the program that's specifically for first years called CitySpire. And I wish I had have taken advantage of a mentor or a coach, somebody that I could speak to, because I think particularly as you know, I changed degree and went into a different master's, I had a bit of anxiety about what your career path should look like. And it wasn't really until I was well established within my job that I realized, as you say, it's only the start of the journey. And the other key thing for me, and this is part of the program, is understanding the importance of your personal brand and that first impression, because there's going to be so many people coming through the doors of interviews. And I guess for us, it's just knowing that people realize, to be there on time, to be proactive, to let employers know if for any reason you can't be there, because that first impression really does make a difference whenever there's so many hundred people coming through the door.
Brilliant, thank you. And just on that mentor point, just to remind everybody that the careers office in Queen's does have dedicated careers consultants, and you can book an appointment with them on the website, and you can get one-to-one sort of coaching and advice with them if you're in that position. So that's a really good way to start on that journey. So thank you. And Jordan?
Yeah, I think a lot of my advice would be very similar, and to echo what all my other panelists have said as well. I guess just for me, I kind of wish that I had thought a bit more critically about kind of my skill set. I think everybody has like those key skills that everybody's looking for, and like teamwork, communication, all those things. But I think really thinking critically on examples and preparing for all, even the standard interview questions, but really thinking about how you can apply that and drive those and what you can do in an organization with those. So I think making sure you've prepared specific examples that really highlight your key strengths is really important going into the interview process.
Yeah, definitely the prep piece. Thanks, everybody. I've got a question here from Lucy, who's just completed her master's in psychology, and is wondering if you all recruit, and we've sort of talked about this a little bit, but just more specifically, if you recruit psychology graduates, and in particular into the area of occupational psychology in the workplace, maybe through your consulting. Karen?
Yeah, I mean, yes, we do. So our human capital practice would certainly take those graduates, but to be honest, any across our business, it doesn't matter on what the degree is. But yes, our human capital practice would probably be the most suited.
Right. Anyone else want to add to that? You take psychology graduates?
We do take psychology graduates, but it maybe wouldn't be in the same area. We would bring them into like maybe our data science or still into like our consulting firm, but it wouldn't be on the psychology side of things. But there's a lot of, I think, benefit in having a different background and approaching things at a different angle in terms of consulting and working with clients. That can be quite useful and really helpful.
Yeah, using those analytical skills perhaps and social skills in a different way.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I have another question coming in here from Fanula, saying, as your companies are all global, can you apply for the graduate programme both within UK and Ireland, or are the businesses separated? So,
you can apply for, like, I guess they're different application processes, but what we have had seen in the past is people who've maybe applied to Belfast and then said, you know, I'd actually really like to go to London. And we just liaise with the graduate programme to see how we can transfer them over. But I think it's knowing where you want to go from the beginning makes it an easier path for everyone.
Yeah. Anyone else want to add to that? Similar points?
Yeah, we're similar. We're separate entities to our Irish firm, so it is two completely separate application processes. But yes, just be mindful. I think there is that researching piece in the first instance to try and understand exactly where you want to be. And honestly, it's much easier to navigate one application process and put all of that effort in to potentially, you know, put a lot of eggs in different baskets and maybe, you know, not put as much effort in. So it definitely is worth really trying to decide exactly where you want to be before applying.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I think we're basically nearly at 2 o'clock, so we'll leave that at the last question. I know there's lots more quite specific questions coming through, but we'll be able to pick them up afterwards. And certainly, you know, you can liaise with the careers office, and also we'll be liaising with the companies directly to pick some of those more detailed questions up. What today was all about, if you go back kind of to our objectives at the beginning, was to just hear a bit more about these large organisations in Northern Ireland that are interested in a wide range of students, and to start to think about what skills they want and what you can do to start to develop those. So huge thanks to our 4 senior leaders for giving up a bit of your time this afternoon. For the students, as I said, as and when all these opportunities open up and their deadlines come up, they will all be available to you through My Future, through the company's websites, and also through social media and the newsletter. So make sure you do check them and make sure you do book in appointments with the careers consultants. And we have 2 more employer panels coming up next week that we hope you can join us on. So we have a second private sector. There's our social media slide there. Make sure you follow us. We have a second private sector panel on Tuesday the 6th. And we have a life science panel on Wednesday the 7th. And then later on in November, we have a public and non-for-profit sector panel. And these panels should work really well with the main careers fair in October, which the 4 companies here will also have representation on. And of course, then you can get into some more of this detail. But for now, if you could perhaps think of one aha moment, perhaps something that the 4 ladies had mentioned, a commonality around this idea of grasping opportunities and having an open mind. And perhaps students can think of something that they can tangibly do to move to the way towards that. And for that, then we just say thank you so much to the 4 of you for your time. Folks, this video will be recorded and it can be available on our website afterwards to go into more detail. And I'll also send out an email with some of the recruitment deadlines and things like that on it. So big thanks to the 4 of you for your time this afternoon, and all the best.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.